It's the final day of 2023. It has been an incredible year for movies. Maybe just not at the box office. I fell short of my own movie watching record from 2022 and yet attended two different film festivals across two different countries, met one of my favorite working directors, and thanks to all of you, we finally hit 5,000 subscribers. So, to celebrate on the final day of the year, for the final video of the year, my name is Ren, and this is my top 10 best movies of 2023. Welcome back, film family. Thank you, first of all, for finally getting us to 5,000 subscribers. What a rewarding way to bookend 2023, filling me with so much motivation heading into the new year. And thank you for joining me as we count down my top 10 best movies of 2023. As always, this is a personal list, not a definitive list, so I would love for you to start the conversation about the movies that made you love movies the most. Every year, making a final call on a list like this is tricky, whether because of the movies themselves or because of the experiences we had watching them. And I had a tough time making a final decision. But today, to bookend the year, here it is, delivered to you. Without any further ado, let's get started talking about so many of the movies I loved with number 10. The Killer sees David Fincher return to form in stripped-down fashion as we deep dive into the ruthless, sociopathic mind of an emotionally detached serial killer, brilliantly played by Michael Fassbender in one of the defining performances of his career. I love Fincher's cold-hearted, steely direction because it strikes this perfect balance of finding him in his comfort zone as a storyteller, yet being so challenging as a character study. This is a character that is not all that compelling, is not all that likable. It's a character we don't even know his real name, but he's so much more interesting for what he says by doing the exact opposite. It takes the approach of the unreliable narrator who's trying to convince us, the audience, of something, or maybe is trying to convince himself. So there are all these layers to the character, all this nuance of him revealing throughout the film who he really is, exposing his own twisted, retorted worldview where he's become so detached from himself, from the way he sees the world, and the way Michael Fassbender plays it. It is cold hearted, but all the more alluring for it. The film looks gorgeous with a phenomenal soundscape that becomes such a part of its identity, and Fincher's unsurprisingly meticulous approach reveals all these little subtleties throughout the film about the world, the mission, the character, and demands your attention. The Creator is one of the most impressive films I saw all year, for more than the obvious reasons. I love this movie for simply existing. A studio released, big budget, sci fi original blockbuster where you see Gareth Edwards play with so much of his sensibilities and keep pushing himself, where he's always stood out on a visual level for playing so well with scale and creating these enormous world, conveying the human perception of these larger than life realities, and he keeps pushing himself to another level. It blends all these different elements from classic sci-fi originals at their time and creates this whole new thing that belongs to him. This movie is Star Wars meets The Last of Us. Of course I'm going to love it. But beyond its fantastic action and the breathtakingly immersive sci-fi world created on a budget of only $80 million, the film injects into its emotional narrative a nuanced discussion on the blurred lines between humanity and AI, mixing all these familiar ingredients, all this familiar commentary, but with Edwards' unique voice, giving it a whole new reinvigorating meaning for the genre and one encouraging release for cinemas and for original ideas from storytellers. Suzume is yet another masterwork from Makoto Shinkai. I don't know of any other filmmaker that I love so much and yet doubt so much every time his new star-crossed lover story comes out. And every single time, it feels new, it is emotional, and it catches me by surprise. This is the one movie this year where at some point I thought, I'm gonna make it through this movie without crying. And then those last 10 minutes happened. This is a jaw droppingly gorgeous film. In this day and age, whenever we get such awe inspiring hand drawn animation, I cherish the watching experience. The score is sublime, and Shinkai takes us on yet another whimsical, fun, fantastical adventure with such a wonderful mythology to it, with beautifully written characters and one of the most likable characters in 2023 with Suzume. Whenever I thought I was not going to get into this film because one of the star-crossed lovers is a chair and he makes it work, that is impressive storytelling right there. I was invested in every single frame of this film. Frames that I would love to paint in my room and just watch it. That's the best compliment I could give to an animated movie, when I'll just watch it on mute because it looks so beautiful and the story matches that beauty. The characters match that beauty. The love story unraveling in front of us, the mystery at the center of it. I was beyond invested in every single second. Poor Things has Emma Stone like you've never seen her before. You have never seen a movie like this before. A Disney princess that just so happens to be Frankenstein's monster, all rolled into one. From Robbie Ryan's fisheye cinematography to the fantastical production design, bringing us into a steampunk world of monsters and creatures, all attempting to find a place where they belong in a story about sexual and emotional liberation from the patriarchy. This is a film where Yorgos Lanthimos might have just out Yorgos Lanthimos himself, and that is saying something. Emma Stone is beyond fearless in this performance, perfectly playing the childlike, big-eyed wonder as Bella Baxter journeys the world discovering about life and about herself. And every character has these unique quirks that make them all so memorable in a film that is dark, it's bleak, it is poignant, but also absolutely hilarious. That's such a snarky, twisted sense of humor to the characters, to the world, the way it looks. They go to Lisbon, to my country, they eat our pastries, and they eat it wrong, but I love the shout out and how they capture this unique world. It is a very weird movie. You just can't escape the Yorgos Lanthimos of it all. But thanks to Emma Stone shouldering this entire world, this entire journey on her shoulders, it manages to convey an earnest sweetness and endearment to it all. The Iron Claw is not only one of the most heart-wrenching sports dramas I've ever seen, it is the best wrestling movie ever made. As a pro wrestling fan for over 2 decades now, the Von Erich curse is a fabled cautionary tale, and this film explores the story of the Von Erich family with reverence and soul-crushing authenticity. From the brotherly bond between Kevin, Carrie, and David to the real-life family pressures of legacy that constantly weighed them down and eventually took so many of them away so soon. What works so well about this film as a sports biopic is that when it comes to their sport, professional wrestling, they excelled. They were the best. They were born and bred for this. It is the real life struggles day to day between fathers and sons, and how legacy weighed so much on them, but yet felt inescapable. The ensemble cast is all around faultless, but it is Zac Efron's emotionally and physically demanding work that makes this story so powerful, as a man attempting to rescue his family from this invisible enemy he knows is just lurking around, following them as if it's itself a member of this family, brought upon by his father and the pressures that his failures places on his sons, an inescapable enemy that chases all through this family, and it's incredible to watch. It also features the best wrestling scenes in any film I have ever seen. I admire what Sean Durkin, Jeremy Allen White, Colt McNally, Maura Tierney, they all accomplish so much, and not for a moment it feels like so many people like to say wrestling is fake. Oppenheimer will forever be remembered as one of the year's biggest cinematic successes and one of Christopher Nolan's best movies. A genius filmmaker who deeply respects the audience's attention and rewards us for it. Everything about Oppenheimer plays as a horror film about the ambition of one man to be acknowledged and how it turns on him to haunt him for the rest of his life. What a career defining performance from Cillian Murphy as the genius who lives, embodies this horror that changed our world forever, as the one man who sees and understands what he has actually done. What a cast, too. So many familiar faces, so many sublime performances, even if they're only on screen for around 2 minutes. The film looks fantastic. It sounds tremendous, where silences speak volumes over even the loudest scenes. That gymnasium scene will never be forgotten. It is the calling card for Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker, for Ludwig Göransson's score, for the soundscape of the entire film, Cillian Murphy's performance, the cinematography, the editing. It all beautifully comes together like fusion and fission to create something resoundingly unforgettable. Not to mention that ending that has stuck in all our minds through the years. I once was asked if there was going to be a sequel to Oppenheimer. We're living in it, baby. Christopher Nolan delivered the genesis of the world as we know it with Oppenheimer. Barbie will forever be linked with Oppenheimer for the history both movies accomplished in their theatrical runs, and I wore my Ken hoodie to ensure they're linked in my best of the year list. The absolute antithesis to Oppenheimer, it's a fun, bright, bubblegum coated, fantastical coming of age story. An innocent person goes out into the world and sees how cynical, bitter, weary everyone has become, learns about societal norms, cultural differences, gender norms, relationships, and begins to understand nuance. And instead of becoming bitter and weary and cynical, it journeys back home to teach everyone about it. Instead of tearing everyone else down, it uplifts everyone else. Where Barbie learns what it is to be human, is interested, begins to understand herself, and teaches Ken that he's worthy all on his own. They don't need each other. They need to love themselves first. And there's just something so beautiful about it. The way Greta Gerwig directs this fantastical, often self aware, ridiculous journey that is so smart, so sharp, is not afraid to make fun of anyone because it's also celebrating everyone. And the performances are, in the words of Ken, sublime. And I just want to rock out to Ryan Gosling singing I'm Just Ken at the Oscars right before winning his statue for Best Supporting Actor. The direction is fantastic. It's such a film that knows what it is, but manages to find all these layers to its characters, to its story, with sharp commentary, smart humor, hilarious bits and characterizations, and everyone manages to be memorable and stand out. It is the film that I had most fun watching this year just because everyone that went to the screening was in full cosplay, enjoying the summer and enjoying being themselves, which is exactly the message of this film. We are about to dive into my top 3 movies of 2023. So before we do that, it's time for you to start the conversation about your favorite films of the year in the comments below. If you're enjoying this list, want to see more like it, I've done many lists like it in the past. Best movies, worst movies, biggest surprises, TV shows as well. And tomorrow I'll be dropping my most anticipated movies of 2024. So if you want to see all those lists and stay tuned for more, you want to talk more movies and TV with me, this is the place to be. Consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse just about manages to outdo its predecessor in every conceivable way. Visually, this movie is just insane. So many individual distinct styles of animations when it comes to the worlds, the realities, the characters, how everyone moves at different frame rates. This is a meticulously crafted movie that legitimizes animation being as wordy as any other genre or style of filmmaking. It is an incredible film to witness, and it is inspiring how much can be accomplished with animation in this day and age. Let's just make sure we pay the animators a fair wage and don't overwork them next time. It is a very rare kind of film where not only did I have a huge smile on my face seeing so many of my favorite spider people on the big screen, but I kept wondering, how is this possible that it has been accomplished to such a high level of quality? On a story level, it expands on our idea, our understanding of what being Spider-Man is, and it challenges Miles in his own coming of age story of being who he is and who he wants to be as Spider-Man and as himself. It dives so deep into his relationships, it blurs those lines, it complicates the relationships that he has with other spider people as someone who's felt entirely alone. And now he's attacked for being who he is, for wanting to belong. There's something very powerful about that as the core of this story. It is very much a part one, but it feels like a chapter told within itself because it is also Gwen's story, and her story is so beautifully told. I want to spend an entire franchise in Gwen's world. The characters are so richly defined on an emotional level, and when it comes to the visuals of their distinct worlds, there's such an identity to how it looks, how it moves, and how it feels when you're spending time with these characters. And I cannot wait to see how they bring it all together for these characters and for us Spider-Man fans. All of Us Strangers is a beautiful, melancholic journey through memory and pain, an appeal to allow ourselves to feel, to not regress and internalize everything that hurts us. As a man journeys back home to find his parents, as young as they were 30 years ago when they died. I adore how tender this film is, how confrontation it is about our relationships with others, about the small cruelties of every day that we don't understand in our interactions. And the way Andrew Haigh phantasmagorically captures these interactions between grown-up son and young parents is just so beautiful. I cannot tell you how many tears I shed watching this film, how many moments have seared into my mind, either because they hurt so much, they felt so relatable, they felt like an echo of my own experiences in some ways, but also because it just feels like a warm hug. It manages to be uplifting through all the hurt, through all the pain, and the performances are spectacular. Claire Foy, I don't think I've seen a more beautiful performance this entire year. It is yet another performance I don't see being talked about enough. Andrew Scott is fantastic. He manages to play a cynical, bitter man that has internalized so much pain, and yet a child so pure and fascinated by the beauty of the world and so warm in the embrace of his parents. It's exactly what I wanted to see. It gave me everything I needed from it with the most beautifully crafted screenplay I saw this entire year. I've never been an Andrew Haigh fan before. I've never seen any of his movies before. This puts him on the map as one of my favorite filmmakers. I don't remember being as assaulted by a film's relatability, by looking in a mirror so much and confronting all that pain, processing all those emotions. It felt therapeutic. It felt vital for me to experience this film in the environment I did, and it has stayed with me ever since I saw it. It is everything I could want in a movie, but it is not everything I want in a movie and more. That honor goes to John Wick Chapter 4 is an immaculate accomplishment in action filmmaking and in filmmaking in general. The mythology and world building Chad Stahelski has crafted and continually kept on satisfyingly expand with each film, an action franchise that has not only not gone down in quality, but expanded on the quality all around, from the visuals to the music, the choreography, the stunts. Everything about these movies deliver the validity to action filmmaking as prestige auteur storytelling that I crave. These are the movies that I would love to make. And this entire franchise could have just delivered awe-inspiring action and glorious violence, and I would love it. But what makes it special is the story. It's the character of John Wick, is how each movie works as a metaphor for Greek mythology, where the Greek gods, John Wick descending upon hell, climbing atop Mount Olympus to take down the gods. It also works as an allegory for Dante's Inferno. John has become a man so possessed with so little to live, he knows nothing but to kill because his wife is gone. There's profundity in that. There's such great character work, and he works it so well. Where so many people complain about his line delivery, the physicality, the emotionality, the body language of it all, you don't doubt for a second this man in his 60s is Baba Yaga, the man who can't be stopped, the man who will descend into the depths of hell and take everyone else down with him if need be. Everything about this film is everything I love about filmmaking. Everything about this franchise is everything I love about filmmaking. From the look to the feel to the glorious violence, that dragon's breath sequence is insane, and I applauded it as I was watching it. John Wick Chapter 4 has cemented this franchise as one of my favorites of all time. It has cemented itself as one of the greatest sequels of all time, and cemented this film as the best movie of the year because it's the movie that made me love movies the most. So our champion for 2023 movies is John Wick Chapter 4. And that is my top 10 best movies of 2023. Thank you so much for watching, Film Family. Thank you for 5,000 subscribers. I cannot wait to share more films, more shows with you in 2024. Big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel. And I'll be back next year with more videos. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.